Hello class, time to review unit rate. So this goes back to second 6 weeks. Just as a reminder real quick, a rate is a comparison of two quantities that have different units, such as miles and hours. So for example, she traveled 300 miles in 2 hours. That's a rate. A unit rate would be a rate with a denominator of 1. So if I take that 302 hours, I would change that to she traveled 150 miles in 1 hour, which is unrealistic because she's going way too fast, but still an example. And then cross product is going to be when you set diagonal products to be equal together. So with unit rates, we are writing proportions, and cross product is how we're able to solve for the variable x. So we already know how to do this. We've already learned it. We talked about it before. So for example, if a car can go 50 miles in, 50 miles in an hour, how many can it go in 2 hours? So we're just doubling the 50, so 100 miles in 2 hours. If peaches cost $4 for 2 pounds, how much would it cost for 1 pound? So I'm going to take half of the $4, so it's $2 a pound. And then 3 pizzas cost $33, so how much is 1 pizza? So I'm dividing 33 by 3, so 1 pizza is $11. And then if Jason eats 10 sandwiches in 5 days, how many sandwiches did he eat each day? So what times 5 is 10, so it's 2 sandwiches per day. All right, so let's look at another question. Oh, sorry, not another question. Formula. So step 1, we're going to write the rate in words, so miles and hours. This helps us be consistent across our proportion and prevents any mistakes or errors. Step 2 is going to be write the rate with numbers. So for example, 60 miles over 2 hours. And then step 3 is to write the equivalent rate, equivalent unit rate, Okay, so now an example. To make 2 batches of nut bars, Jada needs to use 4 eggs. How many eggs are used in each batch? So I know that you could easily solve this on your own, but we need to practice our process. So we're dealing with batches and eggs. So it gives us one ratio. So 2 batches, she uses 4 eggs. So how many eggs, that's my x, are used each batch? So technically speaking, we should have the total or the batches on the bottom. But since we're doing a proportion, it's okay either way, as long as we're consistent. So now I'm going to do my cross product. So 2x equals 1 times 4. Divide both sides by 2 so that I can get x by itself. So x is 2. Let's try the next one. So on her way to visit her parents, Jennifer drives 265 miles in 5 hours. What's her average rate of speed in miles per hour? So that's what we're looking for. So that's going to be our word ratio. Miles per hour. So it gives us this ratio. She drove 265 miles in 5 hours. So how many miles, x, did she drive per hour? 1 hour. So again, we're going to do our cross product. So 5x equals 265. Isolate our variable and divide. Okay, so once you do the division, we find that x is 53. So she drove 53 miles per hour. Let's take a look at another example. So which is the better deal? So food A contains 150 calories and 3/4 of a serving. And I know I skipped a problem on your notes. Don't freak out. You can go back and do that if you have time. Anyways, so food A contains 150 calories in 3/4 of a serving. Food B contains 250 in 2/3 of a serving. Find each unit rate which has fewer calories per serving. Okay, so food A, and then we remember back to our steps. Step 1 is our word ratio. So calories per serving. So calories is 150 calories for 3/4 of a serving. We're saying how many calories in one serving because it says per serving. And then let's just go ahead and set up food B. So food B, same word ratio, but they have 250 calories in 2/3 of a serving. So how many in one? So once we do our cross product, we have 3/4 x equals 150. So instead of dividing, because once we get down here, we have 2/3, and that's a repeating decimal. So I'm going to go ahead and just use my fraction. So right now, this side is being divided by 4. So I'm going to get rid of the 4. How do I get rid of dividing? I'm going to multiply. And then what I do to one side, I have to do to the other. So now I have 3x equals, let's see, 4 times 2 times 15 is 30, so times 4 is 600. Divide by 3 to isolate, and x equals 200. Now down here, food B, let's do the same process. So 2/3 x, so I'm going to just put the x up with the 2, equals 250. Get rid of my 3 by multiplying by 3 times 3. So 25, think of quarters, times 3 is 75. And then add my 0 back. So 2x equals 750. Divide both sides by 2. Let's go over here and do our math real quick. 2 times 3 is 6. 15. 2 times 7 is 14. And 2 times 5 is 10. So x is 375 calories per serving. So it says which has fewer? Well, food A only has 200 versus 375, so food A. Okay, so now flip it over, and on these, try to pause and work through the problem and then check it. So on this one, he uses 5 bags of cement to make 12.5 sidewalk squares. How many sidewalk squares can be made with each bag? So we have sidewalk squares, so squares per bag, and we're given the ratio that they can make 12.5 squares for 5 bags. So how many squares with each bag? So I know my bags are the 1. Cross product, so 5x equals 12.5. I want to isolate my x, so I'm going to divide both sides by 5. 12.5 divided by 5. 2 times 5 is 10. Subtract 25. Put my decimal. 5 times 5 is 25. So x is 2.5. So 2.5 squares per bag. So it's going to be A. Moving right along, the Medheny family traveled 56 kilometers on their trip to Galveston. 1 mile is approximately 1.6 kilometers. Which measurement is closest to the number of miles they traveled? So we have kilometers and miles. So it says they traveled 56 kilometers. I'm going to keep kilometers on top. And it gives us the ratio that 1 mile is 1.6 kilometers. So again, kilometers are on top, 1 mile on the bottom. Put my x, do my cross product. 1.6x equals 56. I want to isolate my x. I'm going to divide by 1.6. Divide by 1.6. These cancel, so 56 divided by 1.6. I have to move my decimal, put it up top. So 16 goes into 56, let's say maybe 3 times. 3 times 6 is 18, 348. So 348, subtract, borrow, 16 is 80. And then let's say maybe 5, 16 times 5 is 30. 5, 6, 7, 8 is 80. You get 0, so 35. So we're going to go down here with C. All right. Next one. So a pine tree measured 40.5 feet tall. Over the next 7.5 years, it grew to a height of 57 feet. During the 7.5 years, what was the yearly growth in the height of the tree? So we're talking about height or growth and years. So it says, let's see, it grew to a height of 57 feet and it's 7.5 years. So do we know how much it grew? No, we don't. So we have to find out how much it grew. So it started at 40.5 and it ended at 57 feet. So I'm going to subtract to find the difference. 6, 10, 5, 6, 1. So it grew 16.5 feet in 7.5 years. So how many feet did it grow in 1 year, right? Yearly growth. Cross product again, so 7.5x equals 16.5. I gotta isolate my x, divide by 7.5, divide by 7.5. Let's see, I'll move over here and do it. 16.5 divided by 7.5. Going to move my decimal on the outside. I have to do the same on the inside. Move it up. So 75 does not go into 16, but it goes into 165. Let's see. 75 times 2 is 150. So I'm going to subtract 5 minus 0 is 5. 6 minus 5 is 1. 0. Bring down a 0. 152. So my answer is 2.2, but it's in fraction form. So 2 and 2 is in the tenths place. So 2 over 10. Then I have to simplify that. I can divide in my fraction both by 2. They're both even numbers, so 1/5. So 2 1/5 is our answer. All right, now move on to constant video and notes.